So I genuinely believe that AI is one of the best things that has happened for artists of any kind in a long, long time. And I think a lot of people are kind of freaking out around AI will replace the things that we do as artists. And who knows, maybe that will happen. But how I see AI is basically the most universal tool that we can use as artists in the digital world to get leverage on doing the things we want to do. So our strength is creativity. We are the idea generators, whether it's painting, music, filmmaking, in art. It's the idea that is the purest essence of how good the piece of art is. So AI is okay at generating ideas, but it's really good at basically sharing information with you that already exists out there, or generating things that you feed it. So basically, it's just blowing my mind. I think that I've been working with AI pretty much since I discovered it, mostly with ChatGPT, a lot of video editors, photo editors, and that stuff. And the more I'm using it, the more I see it as something that kind of exponentially opens up the possibilities of what we are able to do as artists at pretty much no budget at all. Considering something like ChatGPT, where basically, if as an artist you have an idea you want to carry out, ChatGPT might be able to, if you just say to ChatGPT what you want to happen, it's gonna give you a very basic thing. Basically, it's gonna spit out the most average result on the other end. But what it allows you to do is basically empower yourself, whether it's that through brainstorming or sort of refining an idea or educating yourself or researching, so that you can carry out that idea in a better way. So honestly, I've got so many ideas going through my head. I just today created video AI generated graphics. Well, they're not really graphics. They're kind of just like looping videos. And it just blew my mind that just a couple years ago, that wouldn't have been possible at all for me. Just me sitting in my studio, open up the browser, and within a couple hours being able to have generated a video for my music purely using AI. So for this one I used Sora, which is ChatGPT's kind of video generating tool. And the more I was using it, the more I realized how clunky, irrational, and silly it is at times. And I was almost at the point where I was about to give up and kind of not really mess with it anymore, until I had the right idea. So once I had the right idea to create a series of videos that tell a subtle story that align with the strengths of the software, which is basically generating realistic things with potentially like AI twist, sort of in an abstract way. So I kind of aligned a good idea that I had. I was able to use ChatGPT to refine that idea. Basically, I've provided all the information to ChatGPT of what I wanted it to be. So the important part is that your taste as an artist is possibly the most important thing. So naturally there are skills that you have to do to carry out the execution of your art, but even the execution and your skills are aligned with your taste. And this is where the kind of idea generation followed by your taste as the filter is an extremely powerful thing. And yeah, basically I was feeding ChatGPT lots of ideas what I wanted to do. I kind of had a conversation with it as if it was like a smarter version of myself, combined with being an expert in the field I'm trying to kind of work in. And I just had a discussion with it. And at the end, I had a refined idea of something that was nearly entirely mine, because I created the music, I created the concept for the music, I selected what the music is, what tracks go in the EP, I named the tracks. Each track I decided to have a story, to express something, and then I had an idea of what I want to do with that in a visual world. I fed it through ChatGPT, got some responses back, fed it into Sora. Things weren't working well, so I ran it back through ChatGPT, put it into Sora again just to refine the issues. And it came out kind of better than I anticipated. And that was a pretty much no cost. All it took from me was the skill of using the AI software, the idea and the taste to basically make the good decision more often than not. Because it's really easy to just throw some stuff into ChatGPT or Sora. You get pretty much shit back on the other end, and you just go with it. So in this case, it's not necessarily empowering you in that way. You just get a mediocre result on the other end. But I was able to kind of create something that I was kind of proud of, and I felt I felt a full ownership over that, because it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for me. And even though the AI was there to facilitate that happening. So I genuinely think as an artist, it's something that too many people, I think, are a little bit lost in sort of the threats and the issues with AI, and they're absolutely legit. But that's not something I have control over, whether AI playlists on Spotify or fake artists or fake photographies will take over Instagram and Spotify. Maybe that will happen. If it does, it sucks, but there's nothing for me to do about that, really, besides maybe talking about it, making people aware of what's happening. But in terms of how I can utilize AI for my own benefit, it's honestly brain melting in how powerful it is. And I think previously you would have had, just a couple of years ago, to do something like that, you basically had to have thousands of pounds of money basically to hire an expert, hire a videographer, graphic designer, an expert in copywriting to basically refine everything, to have a very professional project on how it's presented and how it's executed. Whereas now, kind of AI can basically facilitate you doing that thing nearly completely yourself. So I think that's the main takeaway of this story that I am trying to share with you, and something that I'm trying to incorporate myself, that whatever AI will become in the future, and whether it's going to wipe all of us away as artists, who knows, maybe. But what is within my control is how I am going to use it. And honestly, I can't recommend enough to just learn using AI as a skill. And I think it's similar to the invention of the internet. When the internet first came around, I'm sure a lot of people, well, it's kind of a point of discussion that many people resisted the idea of the internet. You know, knowing how to Google the right information has become a skill. That's why a lot of kind of older people can't use computers or Google things, and a lot of younger people were very good at basically finding a problem, Googling the results, solving that, and being just kind of problem solving, creative, tech savvy. And I genuinely believe that AI is a similar skill, being able to have a conversation with it, guide it in the right direction, in a way that it's polishing off and curating and refining the idea that you have, and it's you who has to feed stuff into it to get the right things back. Because if you feed it stuff that doesn't make sense or is pointless or it's a bad idea, it's going to feed those back ideas back at you. So yeah, test it out, and there's lots of ways to use it for kind of brainstorming. For example, to give you a specific example around ChatGPT, I kind of, as a techno artist and DJ, I created this EP of music, and I was kind of looking to create a cohesive story around it, and I already had certain feelings and ideas and associations around my music. So I basically ran things through ChatGPT, basically explaining my train of thought, kind of like you would talk to an expert friend in the discipline. If someone was like a record label owner slash incredible artist slash genius creative, and you just had a conversation with them, be like, hey, I've got this idea, but I don't know how to refine it. Like, I'm thinking I want to do this and do this and do this. Like, what do you think? It's kind of how I approach ChatGPT, and it's feeding me ideas. A lot of them are terrible and silly, and it still makes mistakes. But a lot of the times, it'll just throw something at me that I'm like, oh, this is exactly it. And that's where my taste comes into hand, because it's deciding on using the right idea that becomes that powerful leverage. And if anything that creatives and artists are good at is creativity, and something that many artists live off of, whether they know it or not, is their taste. So it's the taste and the decision making and the creativity that are the strengths of artists, and those are the exact things that AI enhances and improves. So worth keeping that in mind, to worry less about how terrible AI is for us artists, because it's not necessarily within our control, and just finding ways how to utilize that better so that we can leverage that in our own favor, and basically rather than resisting that technology, to make the most out of it and get ahead of everyone else who is freaking out and worried and resisting, and especially, at least in the techno world, I feel like so many people are doing the exact same thing, whether it's musically or in terms of their visual story, or whether it's the kind of their image, and everybody's trying to copy other people. And I so rarely see something that is creative and original and fresh and aligned with the vision of the artist. And this is something that I think is extremely important. Just, if you're doing something that someone else has done, all that's going to happen is you're going to do what someone else has done, but worse. So especially in the world of art and creativity, it is the creativity of you as an artist that is your competitive advantage. If you think around kind of some of your favorite artists, musicians, a lot of the times, at least for me, the artists that I admire the most are those who are constantly evolving, who kind of innovate in the discipline they're mastering, but also innovating around that discipline. And I think it's so easy to get stale. And I think when I look around at what other artists are doing, it does feel quite stale. There's very few people who are doing something exciting and fresh and innovating. And I think this is something it's not easy. And this is not like, I spent first 4 years as a techno artist kind of copying other people, because that's all I knew. I didn't feel competent enough to innovate and initiate my own ideas. Whereas now I feel like I've got a good grasp of myself, of my art, of my direction, my vision, my story. So I feel like this is the point where now it's my time to innovate, to kind of live the life of a creative, which is reflected across everything I do. Because, first of all, I love doing it. Kind of being creative is what I love about music and I love about everything else. So why not apply it across everything else? Social media can be exhausting and tiring, and with the whole idea of comparing yourself to other people, I think it can be kind of heart wrenching. But there is a way to use it in a positive way, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to use it in a creative way, share with other people, remove things I don't want to see, people I don't want to hear from, and just focus on how I can express myself through it, whether it's videos on Instagram or my music or the name of my tracks or the graphics I create for my music. I want everything to be a reflection of me. I want to inject my own creativity and my own soul and life into it at this stage, rather than copying what everyone else is doing, because I find that boring by now. So yeah, I think this might be more interesting than the first video that I made, and I'm still gonna figure out kind of what I'm doing with these. But I got so excited today kind of creating my video animations for my EP that I just had to whip out the camera and share my thoughts with it. So even though it's the second video, I'm kind of excited. I think this is something I could do more often. Again, I might not even get anyone watching this, but whoever gets to the end of the video, cool. There will be another one for now. So yeah, thanks.